Staggering. Ibiki smirked. He's interesting. He wiped out everyone's uncertainty.
Looking around the room, he counted how many were remaining.
57, huh? There are more left than I expected.
There's no point in waiting anymore.
Congratulations, you all pass.
Ibiki declared, and hid to fight the smile that threatened to appear on his face at the bafflement of as well as the disbelief of the genin.
But what about the 10th question?
A genin from AIM demanded to know.
That was the 10th question. It was a question to test your will and fortitude. As a chunin, you'll be forced to take tough decisions, and no one needs weak-willed chunin leading their forces to their deaths.
By asking this question, you've shown me your determination and willingness to do the best for your villages, even with handicaps, he explained.
Temari spoke once again, so the other questions were for nothing?
And once again, she blushed when Naruto turned to stare at her with a smile. No, the test was for info gathering.
Got in to see how much balls you all had, he answered, looking in the direction of Naruto, who turned back and gave a graceful shrug. This marks the end of the first phase of the Chunin selection exams.
I wish you luck for the next phase, Ibiki smiled, which was surprisingly pleasant and not all that disturbing. Before he could say anything else, he caught something from the corner of his eyes and stepped back just in time for a ball of cloth to come crashing through the window. 2 kunai flew out of the cloth and stuck to the ceiling, unfurling the cloth, revealing a very familiar purple-haired woman wearing a brown trench coat.
On the cloth it was written, Second Exam Proctor Mitarashi Anko. You guys. This is no time to be happy. She exclaimed. I am the proctor for the second test, Mitarashi Anko. The real exam starts now.
Are you ready? She shouted and pumped her fist into the air.
Ibiki came from behind the cloth. Grasp the atmosphere, will you? Anko blushed at his deadpan.
Naruto simply sat down and crossed his arms, fondly smiling at her. It had been a while since he saw his sensei, and to be honest, he missed her eccentricities.
Anko counted the number of genin left and raised an eyebrow. 57? Ibiki, you let 19 team pass? You let them off too easy, she scoffed. Ibiki shrugged. This time, we have quite an interesting bunch.
Anko scoffed and was about to snark back when a familiar mop of blonde hair caught her eye. She smiled proudly when she saw Naruto sitting in the room, fondly smiling at her. As soon as she made eye contact, that smile turned into a smirk and he winked at her. Anko grinned savagely, now that she knew that her best and only student was in the exams.
You may be right, Ibiki, she said. However, I'll cut those numbers in half in the second test.
That, coupled with her savage grin, was enough to make everyone sweat a little.
Naruto just shook his head. His sensei was as intimidating as ever. I will explain the details tomorrow. We will go to another place, so ask your Jonin sensei about where to go and the time. That is all. Dismissed. Everyone stood up to leave, while Anko just smirked and walked in the direction of her former student. Naruto stood up as well, standing just 4 inches short of Anko's height.
He waved his teammates away, who were looking curiously, telling them he will catch up later.
What's up, brat? I didn't know that you were going to be in this exam.
Naruto shrugged, putting his hands in his pockets. Even we didn't know until only a week ago, Anko-sensei.
Ibiki raised an eyebrow. Coming to stand with them, sensei? So this is the brat Hokage-sama assigned to you? Naruto smiled, his white showing. Uzumaki Naruto, pleased to meet you. Anko-sensei talked about you occasionally, Ibiki-san.
You really did frighten all the genin to death. Ibiki smirked while Anko scoffed. If he really had, there wouldn't be 19 teams left.
Ibiki jerked a thumb towards Naruto. You should thank him for that. Brat gave a speech that wiped all the fear I put into them. Anko puffed up proudly, never minding Ibiki's failure. Of course he did. He is my student after all. He was born to be a leader.
Naruto smiled, but turned serious, though I do have a concern to raise. His serious tone was enough to catch their attention.
What is it, Naruto? Anko asked with a frown. Naruto said, it about a genin named Yukushi Kabuto.
He seemed to have some sort of information cards that had info, mainly the mission stats and their strengths and weaknesses, on all the genin present. I can believe it if he only had info on the genin of Konoha, but he also had it on the Sunanin, Gaara.
Something that should only be known by the Kazekage and his council.
He explained all his observations and conclusions to them. Ibiki and Anko paid serious attention to this, and by the end of his explanation, both were frowning heavily.
"This is not good," Anko commented.
Ibiki nodded, a hard look on his face. "If what you say is true, we might have a spy in our midst. And having information like that means he has likely been a spy for years. Who knows what kind of information he has now?"
Naruto frowned. "Even I'm not that sure. As I said, my own observations led me to this conclusion. Regardless of whether he is a spy or not, such matters have to be investigated for that sort of possibility, don't they?" Anko nodded. "That is true. This matter will be taken to the Hokage immediately. By Ibiki." Ibiki turned on Anko, an incredulous look on his face. "You can't order your superior, you know that, right?"
Anko shrugged, putting an arm around Naruto's shoulders, not caring in the least that his face was right next to her. Assets.
"I know, but in the light that my student is in the Chunin exams, it is his duty to treat me to dango. Let's go, brat."
She started walking, not letting go of Naruto, who was struggling to get out of her embrace. Ibiki smiled and shook his head, muttering, "Just this time, I'll let this go."